Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mystic Voices. It's been almost a year that I've done this segment on my channel. I realized, but I was kind of caught up on other videos and other collabs and other things going on. As you know, I've been, my spiritual business is growing and expanding. I opened a crystal shop, an online shop. So there's been a lot. So I've asked George to join me again. Last time he was here was last April. He's an author of 3 best-selling books. The latest one is called Protect Your Light. It's even forwarded by Diana Cooper. Comes out in July, and I will let you know when that's out. Second book is Lightworkers Gotta Work. And then his first book is called Be the Guru, a step-by-step guide to becoming your own spiritual teacher. George also has a podcast. It's called the Lit Up Lightworker Podcast. And he also has a very interesting Instagram page or Instagram profile. I highly recommend that you go over there and check that out. Right. So without any further ado, here is our chat with George Lizos. Enjoy. Right. So we're back. And last time George and I met was, last time we did a video together and we met actually was last year, was April of 2021. And that time and in that video, we talked about attachments, law of attraction. We talked about different topics. I will link it down below so everyone can go ahead and check out what we talked about then. But this time I called George to come on and discuss something because I saw one of his posts on Instagram. And if you are not following George or if you don't know who George is, well, here he is. I will post everything down below and I will post his Instagram handle as well. Go ahead and follow him too, because he does post a lot of interesting content and very enlightening, and it will teach you a lot because he is, at the end of the day, a light worker and a teacher and an author of 3 best-selling books. Right. So today, as I was saying, I invited him over because he had an experience that some of you might have had it as well. I've had it in the past, but it's not an often, it's not a frequent occurrence, okay? I just want to put that disclaimer out there before anyone freaks out. George had a spirit attachment. And it was an interesting experience for you, George, right? And that's why I asked him over here, because I want him to share his experience and what he did to lift this attachment and to also help you understand what are attachments, when does that happen, how do you lift them, everything around it, as well as I would love to talk about energy attachments as well. When our chords, energetic cords are attached to someone else. We'll get to that in a minute. Hi, George.
Hi, Natalie. So lovely to be here. And thank you so much for inviting me a second time to chat about spirit attachments. I think that's such an important topic to talk about because it's not something that we talk about a lot in the spiritual community. And in my psychic clearing sessions, where basically I scan people's aura and energy field to identify like blocks, I often see spirit attachment. So I want to first start by defining what we mean by spirit attachment and the different levels of spirit attachment, and also talk about that intense experience that I had as well. So there are different terms meaning different things when it comes to spirits. Now, a spirit attachment is when a low-level spirit, and I will define that, when a low-level spirit attaches itself onto our energy field, onto our aura, creating like an opening, or maybe there is already an opening in our aura that just latches on our energy field, siphoning away our positive energy, our life force energy, leaving us feeling depleted. That is at the basic form. Now, there's also something similar but vastly different called spirit possession. Now, a spirit possession, that is very rare, and it's when a spirit totally takes control over our body. Now, this is very popular in Hollywood movies. And it makes it feel like it's something that many people experience, but it's very rare that a spirit totally takes control of your body. It takes for someone to be completely disconnected from their physical body, or having some kind of deep mental illness or depression or something radical to cause dissociation to allow a spirit to properly possess a body. In my career lifting spirits for the past 10 years, I've never seen a psychic possession story. I've seen, though, many spirit attachments, like low level and low degree spirit attachments, where
And also, sorry for jumping in. I want
Yeah.
to put that disclaimer as well regarding spiritual possession. There is this misconception that it is related to religion and faith. And I would like just to make, because people think that, if you're not a man of God or if you're not religious enough, that you might be possessed by evil spirits. And we just want to make it clear. This is not the case. It has nothing to do with
Yes.
religion and faith.
It really depends to who you're talking to. If you talk to a Christian, a really dogmatic Christian, they're going to tell you that anything that's not in the Bible is a demon and you're possessed by it. So
Right.
by dogmatic Christians, both Natalie and I are possessed by demons, because all the spirit guides we work with, and the angels and the fairies, are not really angels. They're not really of the light. They come from the evil. They come from the devil. Okay.
Right.
Now, I'm not a Christian. I grew up in the Christian tradition, so I know of it. And most Christians don't believe that, by the way. It's just a very specific and loud community within the Christian society that believes that. Not all Christians believe that. You can be a Christian and also believe in tarot and spirituality, etc. Like, you have to be more open. So when I talk about low-level spirits, essentially, let me define the term. I talk about manifestations of collective fear. Let me explain what that means. When we have a large group of people feeling the same negative emotion together intensely, that manifests some sort of a being, but it's a beingless being because it doesn't have a source. It's just a manifestation of that collective fear. And those low-level spirit or spirit attachments just linger in the ethers, looking for people who have a same or similar vibrational frequency, a low vibrational frequency, or a vulnerability within their energy field to attach themselves to that. Now, we also have other types of spirits that they actually used to be, for example, souls on this planet. They're earthbound souls who transition but haven't realized they transition and they're searching for the light. That's a totally different situation, and those don't necessarily aim to hurt us. But those low-level spirit attachments that they are beingless and their collective manifestations of fear, those ones tend to attach themselves to our energy field, siphoning away our energy. Now, when it comes to spirit possession, then we're talking about a different type of spirit. That's an even deeper level of disconnection from fear. Again, beingless. They don't have a sense of source. Because I don't believe, I don't know about you, Natalie, I don't believe there is a source of evil. I don't believe in devil or the Satan, for example. I believe,
I'm with you.
Yes, there's just a disconnection from love. For example, if you want to create darkness in this room, for example, you're not going to push a button and spew out darkness. You're going to turn off the light. Same situation. The absence of light creates fear, and that fear gives form to low-level spirits. So it's nothing to be scared about, because they can't really hurt you. They can scare you, and you fearing them gives them power. And therefore, energy protection, which is the art of being energetically authentic, this is how I define it in my book, Protect Your Light, is all about learning different tools and practices and mindset shifts that will allow you to obliterate that fear and come back into your authenticity, into your light, so you can lift those spirits. Now, the experience that I've had was with a really dark, low-level spirit. Again, beingless, not having any source, not having any soul, but just really low vibration, which I call demonic spirit, just because people recognize that term. But the term demonic is very problematic. It's cultural appropriation. If you go back to ancient Greece, they talked about the demones or demons. essentially demons. These were spirits of light, so like angels, for example, that we talk about right now, that basically supported humans in connecting with the gods, in connecting with source. So the ancient Greeks perceived the demons in the same way that we now perceive angels. A very similar way, if not the same, very similar. But what happened? When Christianity took over, they wanted to take everything that the ancient Greeks believed and make it feel like it's wrong or evil. So they took certain terms and changed their connotation. And that's how the Eros demon, Agathos demon, that's how they called it in the ancient Greeks, the pure demon spirit, turned into something evil. So I don't love using that term. I just use it just because people are familiar with it. And what I basically mean, it's a very dark, low-level energy attachment. So what actually happened? For a whole week, I was waking up every single morning at 3 a.m. while I was sleeping with nightmares of a spirit chasing me. And those spirits take different forms in my dreams. And I would wake up feeling very upset. And I would always try my usual cleansing and shielding practices to lift it. And I was lifting it, but then a new spirit would come up the following day until things took an unexpected turn. I had a dream when this spirit in the form of a guy in my dream was chasing me, captured me eventually, and went down to bite me on my stomach. And when that biting happened, I woke up, jumping on my bed with real physical pain on my stomach. And I jumped on the bed. Now, there was nothing on my bed that could potentially bite me. So it was a spirit in my dream. So I turn on the lights, I turn to see my belly, and I can see physical bite mark. Now, this is the first time I had an encounter with something like that, something unseen. Again, they can't hurt you. They can only scare you. Yes, there was some physical hurt there, but it wasn't as intense. Okay, it was a physical bite mark, but I didn't have to go to the hospital. Let's just say it that way. So they can.
And if you can send me the picture, I will add it here so people just see what we mean, what you mean by bite mark.
Yes. So in that moment, I knew I had to take a different approach. Now, I manifested that, and we're going to talk about that. That's part of the process, and I will explain how I manifested it and how I undid my manifestation in a little bit. But let me share with you step by step what I did to lift that. And by the way, all these tools are in my book, Protect Your Light, where it's a practical guide to energy protection, cleansing, and cutting cords. I teach you all about the different types of energy attachments and spirits and how to lift them. So
I will link everything down below so people don't have to look for it. I will just link it so that they can buy directly from Amazon or from your site.
Yes, perfect. So the first step I did is I centered and I grounded myself, affirming that I am safe. Centering and grounding, and this is something that I teach in the book as well, are the two most essential steps to energy protection. Centering ensures that all your different bodies, because we have different layers to our energy field, are all in the present body. They're all present within the physical body. So sometimes our body may be here, but we're thinking something else or we're feeling something else. So we're disoriented or disconnected and uncentered. Centering involves placing your attention into your heart, visualizing your heart as a magnet, magnetizing the whole essence of you to the center of your heart. So immediately you're taking control of your body. Then grounding is all about establishing your connection with the earth. There are many ways to ground. My favorite way, visualizing an energetic cord extending from your root chakra and rooting you to the center of the earth, to the earth's core. And basically what that does, the earth is the OG energy protector. She's been here since the beginning of time, 4-point-something billion years. We've been here at like a blink of an eye in the earth's timeline. So the earth knows how to protect herself, and our connection to the earth affords us of that safety as well. So by centering and grounding yourself, you're immediately sending a signal out into the spirit world. I'm in control of my body. I'm safe on this planet. You're not allowed in. And then I affirmed that out loud. I was very assertive to the spirit. I am in control of my body. You are not allowed in. Okay, that assertiveness is important. And I
It's
spoke that
important. That's
out
what I
loud.
wanted to say. It's important generally when you have to do with spirits and negative entities. Be assertive. Don't be frightened. You need to be confident and assertive. That's the only way it works. Full stop.
Yes. Fear will only give them power because remember, they are made out of fear. So your fear gives them power. So I was not scared in that moment. I'm like, you know what? Out.
Right.
TTYN. I'm in control.
You were pissed off. You were like,
Yes.
this is my space. Go away.
Yes, you're not coming in. Now,
Bye.
the next step I did, exactly. The next step I did, I used the process that I use in the book. There are 3 essential steps to energy protection. In the book, I go into the 7-step process, but the essential toned down version, 3-step process: identify, cleanse, and shield. So I used my psychic vision to scan my aura and identify where the spirit was. And I saw it attached to the top part of my aura and many other spirits like hovering above it, waiting to come in as well. I'm like, okay, we have more spirits here waiting to come in. So that's step number 1, I identified. Then cleansed it. I use different processes that I teach in the book to lift the spirit. In specifically, the one I use the golden etheric net. So visualizing an etheric net of light filtering my body and just catching the spirit and removing it. But there are different processes you can use to do so as well. And then I shielded myself. In Protect Your Light, I talk about different types of shields, specifically amplifying shields, repelling shields, and transmuting shields. They have different functions. I use an amplifying shield to essentially raise my vibration, and then I use a repelling shield to prevent further spirits from coming in. And I also shielded my bed, and I still do so every single evening before I go to sleep with both of those 2 shields
I do
to
that
protect
too.
me. Yes, that's so important because we're vulnerable when we're
Yes.
asleep.
Especially when we're asleep. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So it's very important to shield your bed. And then after that, the most important step is I searched for the root cause behind me attracting that and manifesting that.
I was about to ask you about that. Like,
yes,
what was the root cause at the end?
let me tell you, because there is no such thing as assertion. Nobody can assert something into your experience. Everything is based on attraction, whether it's something you're attracting right now or whether it's a contract you've made before you incarnated, where you decided to attract a specific lesson into your life. So we attract everything. So there is a root cause, there is a deep fear or a limiting belief or something that that causes whatever it is you're going through. In my case, it was twofold. Firstly, it was an unconscious fear that I had around success, around this specific book, because this specific book is all about essentially teaching people how to eliminate those spirits, how to protect themselves from those spirits. So those spirits are like, wait a minute, you're going to take the job away from us? Like this is our job. What are you doing? So I had this fear of essentially succeeding, of my book succeeding and empowering people that I wasn't aware of, that I had to deal with when I identified that. And also, a couple of weeks before this event, I happened to watch The Conjuring, the movie.
Oh, good movie.
Good movie. Movies. But,
yeah,
so I watched it and I'm like, I've never encountered a demonic spirit. I should do more research about that because that's essentially what I teach and what I help people. I mean, I've dealt with all the other spirits, but not a demonic entity. I wonder how would feel and how I could deal with that. So there I was manifesting.
You invited it in.
I invited it in so I could learn how to protect myself and teach other people how to do so. I believe it was like a life lesson, essentially, partly. It's a combination of factors that came in. So, but the whole point here is never feel victimized because people are not out to get you. Spirits are not out to get you. You're letting that in. And it takes courage to admit that. But the sooner you realize that, the sooner you'll be able to really protect yourself. Otherwise, you just be living life in fear with holding amulets all the time and shielding yourself with 10 different types of shields because you're scared of people attacking you. You got to take ownership of the root cause of what's happening, do the inner work, and then protection comes naturally. And then having all those tools that I teach, for example, in the book, having them in your toolkit so you can use them when needed, when you feel disconnected, because in that moment I was disconnected. I needed those tools.
Mm.
When you're in alignment and when you're high vibing, you don't need those tools because you're already aligned. So you need those tools when you become disconnected.
And
So
shielding
that's
is
the
a big.
story.
It's very interesting because I had an attack too years ago,
Tell me about it.
similar to yours a little bit, except that I was awake when I was chilling on my couch watching Netflix or doing whatever I was doing, and suddenly, as you know, I was wide awake, and suddenly I see a demon. I'm going to use that term
Yes.
just to make it more clear, just to
Yes.
so people can envision what it was, screaming at my face, and I even felt like warm air on my
Yes.
face, as if there was like a demon right there and
Yes.
screaming, and I could hear ah! And I was taken aback. And of course, I did everything. I did similar techniques to yours. I called upon my guides. I called upon my the Archangel Michael as well, who is my go-to as
Yes.
well. I did the cleansing and the shielding. Went to bed. Obviously, I didn't do a great job at that because I woke up with scratches on my back, and that was the first and last time that I've ever had that. And unfortunately, I had photos of it, but that was years ago, and I lost it because they stole my phone years ago, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, and that was my experience. It took me 3 days to get rid of it, to be honest. It was around me. I could feel it. My energy was completely drained. My thinking and my brain was foggy
Yes.
all the time, and I was like, and I wasn't that experienced back then, but now looking back in hindsight, I realize what it was. So it took me 3 days, honestly, 3 days of shielding, of protection, of, calling my team of spirit to come forward. And I managed to get rid of it. And I know as well why. I was also in a low period in my life. I was coming out of a depression. I was very, very vulnerable, not just to negative entities or negative energies, but to negative people, like human beings as well. So, and unfortunately, what happened being a light work, being an empath and an intuitive, I normally absorbs people's energies. And when you're vulnerable and when you're in a low place in your life and you're not protecting yourself, I was like a dumpster, it was just,
Yes.
I was just taking everyone's energy in. And that manifested itself into that attachment. So it was, I wasn't scared either. That's the funny bit. I was taken aback when I saw that, and I woke up in the morning with the scratches. But I wasn't scared. Because you know what? When you're a light worker, when you work with light, no matter nothing, you shouldn't worry about. First of all, this is our job. Okay. So it's an occupational hazard. It is a risk. It's a professional risk we take. So you accept it. And aside from that, because we work with the light and we connect with the light all the time, we feel protected anyways. It's just that sometimes it takes that extra effort or that extra reinforcements from the other side.
It's training. That's a training ground.
It is a training ground. It's not a pleasant one. But what we're trying to say to everyone is, if you feel you have an attachment, do not panic. Okay. First of all, you can always order George's books and see there and read and find there what are the right techniques and tools to get rid of it. But you can do it yourself. You don't need to reach out to any one of us. You can do it yourself. Just don't be afraid. Just, you are in the light. You're the child. You are part of the light. And remember that, and you'll be fine. But
yes,
we just want to inform everyone. Sorry, go on.
Yes. And you talked about something really important, that you were like an energetic dumpster. You were attracting so much energy from other people. And that's one of the central points that I make in Protect Your Light, is that energy protection is the art of being energetically authentic, because we have this energy field. And as we walk through life, both online and offline, because in the book I teach about digital energy protection as well, as we engage with life, our energy field both sends and receives energy. So we if we're not shielded, we receive energy that we pick up from different places and people. And in the book, I call these energetic attachments, and there are different types. There is residual spatial energy left by people in space. There are collective thought forms you can attract. There are toxic cords of attachment you have to people. There are energetic daggers that other people are sending you. There could be karmic contracts or karmic curses that you've made in past lives, still interfering with your current lifetime, spirit attachments, like so many different types of energy attachments. So as we absorb and catch these energetic attachments, they clutter our energy field and interfere with the way we think, with the way we feel, and with the way we behave in the world. So essentially, if we don't cleanse and shield ourselves, we end up thinking other people's thoughts, feeling other people's emotions, leading a life and living a life that's not authentic, that's not in alignment with our life purpose. So it prevents us from living our lives, and we live other people's lives in the end. And therefore, energy protection is about taking our power back. It's about ensuring that what's ours is ours and what's theirs is theirs. And if we choose to share something, it's our choice. And it's not just something that happens unconsciously.
And that's why we have to cut energetic cords, which bring us to the next topic. Because one of the most common things that I have to deal with as a reader, as a psychic medium, is cutting energetic cords from exes, big one, and abusive parents. Those two are major. And I would love to talk about that, because a lot of people are more aware about that energetic cord that's still connecting them to people who are still here on the earth plate, or even people who have passed on. You can still have that attachment, and you need to be aware of it in order for you to be able to cut it. And by cutting it, that's when you can start healing. And you can explain it as well, because you work a lot with that too, and you describe it in your books too. So
yes,
what are some tools that someone can do? I do it for my clients, and some of them I do teach them how to do it. But how about if someone feels empowered, feels strong at the moment, and they want to cut a tie or a energetic cord or tie with an ex, for instance?
Yes. So essentially, energetic cords of attachment are relationship cords that we have to people, to places, to beliefs, to objects, to pets, to past lives, to physical locations. There are different types of cords, and I list all of them in the book and explain what each cord is like. We have group cords that connect multiple people, collateral cords. There are many different types of cords that we may have. Most people are aware of the relationship cords to people, but there are so many others that are also important to release as well. So what these are is, as we establish relationships with the people and things in our lives, that relationship is emotional, and therefore it's energetic. So we may end a relationship, let's say, for example, a romantic relationship physically, but if we don't cut that energetic cord, and therefore that access to our emotional field, to our mental field as well, and our spirit field, then we're giving permission to that person to still access the way we feel and the way we think. And vice versa. We have access to their worldview as well, their mental and emotional worldview. And that maintains that attachment that prevents that relationship from truly ending. This is why it takes so long for so many people to get over excess, because they have all those cords. And sometimes those cords are group cords, meaning if we had common friends, we are connected with our excess in that same group of friends, in that collateral cord. Or how about the gifts they gave us that we still have? Visualize a cord extending from your heart to that gift, and from that gift to your ex. So you may cut the cord to your ex, but that cord is still there, connecting you to them. So each time you see that gift, it's creating struggle. I remember I had a piece of clothing that an ex of mine had given me, and it took me years to throw it away. And for those years, I couldn't get over him, until eventually one night I'm like, you know what? It's time to let it go. And it really tore it apart. And I started crying because I released that energy finally of attachment. So it's very important. I'm a huge proponent of throwing away excess gifts, cutting those ties like moving on completely energetically. Now,
And photos.
And photos,
They have a lot of energy. Photos
burn them,
burn
TTYM.
them. It's not just memories, it's energy.
Yes, I'm just doing my psychology dissertation right now. I'm working on it, and I'm working on nostalgia and place, and I'm learning about memorial objects. So objects that trigger memories and trigger nostalgia. What is nostalgia? Is a desire for a desire for a place that no longer exists. So all these memorial objects that you have, they trigger memories and they create energetic attachments that you have to your exes, that they bring back into your mind a whole past that you're nostalgic about, but no longer is. So it's holding you back and preventing you from moving forward. That's why it's very important to relinquish all those memorial objects and just let them go completely.
And even scent, as a great example is perfume. Perfume, like, when you smell a perfume and you're like, oh, that reminds me of my grandma, or that reminds me of my ex. And then all these feelings, you feel like everything is tingling, and then you feel like your whole body is reacting to it. And it's not just your body, it's your aura, it's your energy reacting.
Yes, and objects are also digital, because a lot texts, conversation threads, pictures. I had a picture with an ex like that I had when I was like 19 years old, and I found myself at 25 still holding on to it. I'm like, why am I holding on to it? Like, let's let it go. And I felt so relieved when I let it go. So it's very important to just
even certain sentences, like as you said, text. Like I had a boyfriend who he was Greek, and he used to like text me, and then he would say "see you" at the end, and it would like make me mad back then. And now it's been like so many years since then, when someone just says or types in like "see you," it triggers me.
That's a trigger. You see,
see, it's just...
That's why I always delete all the text conversations, like completely let go, block them. Oh, you don't have to block, but I do. Anyway, unless I have an amicable relationship, which I tend to do with most of my exes. Actually, we're still friends. Weirdly, okay. So how do you?
It's not weird. It's good. You're setting a good example. So same here. I've got good relations with all my exes.
It takes time sometimes, but once that time passes, I think it's possible to be friends, especially if both people have moved on.
Yeah, when there is no emotional attachment.
Yes, exactly. After you cut all the cords, then you can go and then start again a new friendship. So how do you cut those cords? Like physically, practically, how do you do it? Now, in the book, I share different practices, but I will share a few of them right now. It's as easy. Like energy works with intention. Intention can be verbal, it can be visual, and it can be with like reaching down as well. Okay, so you can affirm on a piece of paper that I'm cutting this cord. You can visualize a cord being cut. You can intend the cord to being cut, or you can use your physical body. So rather than including all these bells and whistles that we love using in the spiritual community to cut cords and do spiritual work, I chose to almost solely include processes that involve my physical body, because I believe our physical body is our most powerful tool. So when it comes to cutting cords, you will read about using a knife actually to visualize this cord and just cutting it, or using scissors and just visualizing this cord and then cutting it, which you can do so as well. Or you can use, I have it here, a crystal, I can't reach it, a crystal wand essentially that you can use to cut the cord. But I like using my hand as a knife. I visualize a cord connecting me to the other person, feel that emotion and the energy flowing through, and then when I'm ready, I breathe in, and with the exhale, I cut the cord. Or I use my 2 fingers as scissors, and then I cut the cord this way.
Let me ask you something about that. Sorry. Because, like, for instance, what I like to do is I use my hands too for other people, but I pull the cord so I can get to the root. But
exactly, as well.
Because you need, you might cut the cord, but if you don't take the root out, the problem is still there.
Yes.
But if you see, but this is what I want to ask you, because I want to hear your opinion about it. There are people out there who claim that that's not the right technique, because it's like when you have a tick, you don't grab it from its body to take it out of your skin. You have to grab it from its head in order for you to take out the whole tick out. On a horrible example, but that's the one that came to mind. And they say that the pulling is not a good technique. It works fine for me, but what's your opinion about that?
Now, there is no right or wrong techniques. There's a right technique for someone and a wrong technique for someone else.
Okay.
So it all works with our own belief system. All energy work works with our own personal belief system. For example, you believe that if you cut the cord this way, the root is still there, and therefore the issue is still there. That's your mentality, the way you visualize your belief system. In my mind, when I cut the cord, the root withers and dies away. So I also see it. So it's my visualization. So that's a very important point, though, because we can all, and that's how you do it. We have to adjust the practices to work for us and our own belief system and our own imagination. So sometimes when I feel that the client will feel this way, that if you cut the cord, the root will be there, I ask them to use their finger to wrap the cord around it and then pull it out like a weed, exactly as you do. And sometimes I do this as well. It just makes them feel like more secure. So, but there is no right or wrong way, because each person feels differently. Some people may feel more powerful and they will feel like they've done more work if they take a physical object and they cut the cord rather than using their own body. So it's just about playing with your own symbolism, your own personal symbolism and belief system and intentionality, and finding out the process that works for you.
That's very interesting. I love talking to you, George. There's so much to talk about.
Me too.
Right. Another topic I wanted to sort of press upon is 2022 is going to be a very important and definitely a vital year when it comes to spirituality and when it comes to the collective and the collective consciousness. There is a collective ascension, the ascension of the collective consciousness, as we know. It's speeding up a lot the last few years. A lot of people are now having their spiritual awakenings, realizing, what the world around them is or is not, shall I say, and who they are truly to their core. Now, there is a thing, I've talked about it several times because it's good for more. I would like for more and more people to be aware of this and to really know what is going on in the world right now. Because if people are aware of it and conscious of it, then we can all help the collective, right? Now, during this ascension, we all know, we've talked about spiritual awakening, and you've had it, I've had it. Anyone who is spiritually open and does what we do has had it, and has had it bad too.
Yes.
Now, my question is, during this process, there is some people go through the dark night of the soul. You've heard of that term, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you went through. I didn't go. Well, I don't know if I did go through the dark night.
I definitely did.
I think I did. I don't know. I'm not sure. But mine was dramatic as well. My awakening. It was like I was being punched and beaten on all levels in my life and in my energetic core and spirituality. Do you want to talk a little bit about that aspect of the spiritual awakening? Just pretty much just to prepare people of what's going on, because more and more people are going through it now and they want answers. They want to understand what's going on. And I feel that this is a great time to talk about it, especially with all the political stuff happening in the world right now, which has shaken everyone. And we need to get the collective going, let's just say, to help the situation that's going on.
Yes. So this is something that I talk a lot about in my second book, Lightworkers Gotta Work. So I introduced the term Ascension Lightworkers, which are a type of lightworkers that are mature souls that have been incarnating over and over again on the planet for the aim of raising the vibration of the world, of ascending the world into this new frequency, into this new golden era. So Ascension Lightworkers are essentially spiritually minded lightworkers who have felt this need from a very young age that I want to serve the world in a bigger way, that my purpose involves more than just living life, and it has to do with creating change in life, challenging the status quo, revolutionizing the status quo, teaching a new way of living in the world that's marked by peace and love and light. So chances are everyone watching this right now, you watching this right now, are an Ascension Lightworker, and you're here to do so, to do that. Now, and all the tools I teach are all about empowering Ascension Lightworkers to fulfill that purpose. So firstly, realizing, okay, I am an Ascension Lightworker and I'm not alone. There are other people like me. First of all, here are two of us right now talking to you. Then that gives you a sense of ease and safety, knowing that you're not alone and that you're being guided. Now, when you have your spiritual awakening and you realize, oh my God, like I'm here to find my purpose and fulfill my purpose, and it's a global purpose, meaning it's meant to create change in the world. How do I go about it? Where do I start? How do I develop my intuition? How do I awaken? How do I do this work? It's very important to have guidance when you do so. Because many people will live, especially in the Western world, we have individualized cultures where the attention is focused on the individual and it's us against the world. So there is emphasis on the ego, whereas when you go to the East, they have more of a collective mentality around doing things together and working in a group. Okay, so especially if you're in the Western world, it's very important to be aware of that and to reach out to find a community of people supporting you, or to find a guide, a mentor. And mentors can come in the form of books as well that can support you. For example, in my spiritual path, my mentors primarily were the books that I was reading and the videos that I was watching of those people and doing online courses versus working with a person one-on-one. Eventually now I do work with people one-on-one to guide me on my path as well. But you need to find what works best for you. And this is especially true for energy protection and intuition and spirituality, because when people first discover their spiritual gifts and abilities and their intuition and they start connecting with the spirit world, it's all fun and games until it isn't. So like driving a car, you're not going to get a car and just start driving it before you learn how to drive it and you have a license. So same thing with the spirit world. You need to know how it works. You need to know how to navigate it. You need to know tools and practices and techniques that can open you to it in a safe way and also close you down afterwards. Because so many people open up and they don't know how to close down. And then they're vulnerable to so many different energies. So training and mentoring is important. Having a community is also important. So these are my two main pieces of guidelines around starting. There's so much we can talk about on this topic as well.
Yeah, I agree with you about the community. Definitely the community and the mentor. It doesn't have to be a physical in the beginning. It can be books, it can be YouTube videos, it can be podcasts, it can be anything like that. That's what pretty much also got me, because I was like very open until I was 20. Too open, the energetic dumpster, all the ghosts and spirits were around me, the crazy little kid that no one understood. Yeah, that was me. And then in my 20s, I was like, I'm blocking it. I'm denying this, this gift. I don't know anything. And then when I did have my spiritual awakening, I started off exactly like you. Books, YouTubes, and then I found a mentor, and then she helped me develop even further my gifts. And then from that on, and let me just remind everyone, as with everything, even anything that you do, whatever job that you do, that you have to take training courses and keep up to date and keep training, same goes for us. Doesn't mean just because we've got a gift, okay, and we're out there helping the world and spreading the spiritual word to people, that we don't have to keep training, to keep working, to keep evolving ourselves. It's a process until we die. This is our life. This is the process that we have to do. And oh boy, I don't know about, I'm sure it's the same with you, George, but sometimes I've got these like phases. I went through it 2 months ago. It seems to me like sometimes I feel so tired, or I feel I'm too closed and I need to put extra effort to do readings for clients or to open up. And I realize now that's what happens before I start downloading either an amplification of my gift or a new gift. I was always clairsentient and clairaudient. Clairvoyant. Hello. One day I woke up and suddenly I was, I had that ability, that gift. So, and this has to do with training, and this has to do with, reading and working on yourself and asking for guidance from physical mentors and mentors from the other side, spiritual guides. So that's important. So it's not like it's a one-off thing, guys. You still have to do the work. You still
just because it's an unstructured and uncontrolled industry doesn't mean that you don't have to train in it.
I agree.
Yes, you can't go to university and study spirituality. Actually, some courses are starting to include it, but there is still a lot of training that you need to do, and it's important to find the right guides, see who you feel drawn to and where you feel excited to go towards. And we go through phases. Sometimes we need a specific guide, and then we evolve into another guide. So
exactly,
let yourself expand and grow.
And there are different types of healers as well.
Yes.
I'm a healer, but because I read energy, but I do not heal with my hands. I don't do Reiki. That's a different kind of healing. And, because everyone just puts us all in one kind of bag, in one kind of box, and they think that we can do all. No, yes. I've got different abilities than George.
Yeah, like you're a psychic medium, and I'm also psychic, but I don't do psychic mediumship, for example.
Right.
I do psychic clearing, which is a different kind of thing. It's still using the same function, the same gift, essentially. I don't like the word gift because I feel we're all gifted.
I say that all the time, that everyone's psychic, everyone's gifted.
Yeah. But there are different paths you can take.
Yeah. That's true. And actually, you and I would make a great team, because there you go. We could do like the psychic mediumship, and then I bring them on to you, and then you do all the reconstruction, the cleansing, and the protection, and then they're a new person. They come out of it and they're like, I'm ready to conquer the world.
There you go.
There you go. So it's a very interesting topic, and it's good to inform people about it. And again, you can find all that on George's books, George's podcast, my YouTube videos. Everything is there. I've talked about it as well. Now, another topic is we started talking about it a little bit before we came on. And I think it's something that I don't know a lot about, but I want to learn. And George, you're the right person.
Yes.
And it's sacred geography or astrogeography. It's called differently. So do you want to explain a little bit what that is? And before you start, I just want to say that it came up because I told George that my mom is Greek. So I lived here 11, 12 years ago, and I came back to Greece. And since I came back to Greece, it's almost like my abilities have been amplified to the max, and I feel very connected. And George said that's exactly what happened to me when I moved back to Cyprus from England, where he was living before. And he said, I need to explain to you why this is it. And please explain to everyone why we're connected to certain locations.
Astrocartography is a way of studying that, of mapping astrological influences on specific locations. Now, I'm not an astrocartographer. I have delved into it a little bit, but the way that I perceive it and I study it is also from an energetic perspective. For example, I do a lot of past life therapy with people as well, past life regressions, etc. And I've found that countries and places that we've had significant or many past lives in, we have an irrational attraction to. And also places that are connected with our ancestry and with our genealogy, we also have connections to. So these two factors tend to influence what countries or places we're drawn to go at different times in our lives and for different reasons. And when I checked that when I did my astrocartography, I found out that the places that I was attracted to go were also connected with that as well. So let's say, for example, when I went to Granada in Spain, I instantly felt like I had lived there before. So while I was there, I did at least 4 past life regressions, and I had experiences of past lives that I had in that specific city, because I could walk through the streets and I'm like, okay, I know this, I remember the streets, I knew where to turn and where to go. So it's because I had past life memories there that were triggered and awakened as a result of that. At the same time, I was strongly called to move back to Cyprus while I lived in the UK for a long period of time, and that's because I have this ancestral connection to Cyprus, because my ancestors were from here, and I have connections through my blood, essentially through my DNA, connecting me to this place, and therefore wanting to come back. So when you explore your past lives and when you explore your ancestry, they immediately give you clues as to what places you are drawn to go and for what reasons. Sometimes you have to go to a place to heal trauma or to heal conditioning. Other places you have to go to a certain place to grow and to expand. So it really depends. So I would really recommend either exploring your past lives, exploring your ancestry, even through the work that we can do together, through like me identifying the connections energetically. There are other tools as well, like family constellations is another tool you can use. Astrocartography is another tool you can use as well to explore and find out what places will trigger your next step to your spiritual journey.
It's interesting because I had that, I lived in Austria for 11 years.
Yes.
I never connected with a country. Nothing wrong with the country, nothing wrong with the people. I couldn't, there was a feeling about it. I had to, my husband is Austrian, I had my kids there, et cetera, et cetera. Moved, as I said, it came back to Greece, very different everything. I had that, you said about Granada when you went to, I had that when I went to Denmark, Copenhagen. As soon as I landed, it was like, I'm home.
Yes.
I was shocked because I've always said, I'm a Southern girl, I was born in Mauritius. So basically I'm an island girl. I like the sea. And I arrived and I'm like, I'm at home. Oh my God. I was just like, I felt so at peace, so magical. It's incredible. And I would definitely encourage people, if you're interested, research into it, look into it. You will learn a lot about you. And it's also healing, knowing, especially if there's a past life connection.
Yes. And also follow your intuition. You will feel drawn to places. Like if I were to ask you right now, what is a place in the world you have an irrational attraction to? What would that be? And you immediately know. Like I ask this question a lot in my social media platforms, and people immediately know what they have an irrational attraction towards. And usually there's a reason. Mine was Spain.
Spain, is it? Oh, wow.
I go to Spain every single year for a month, and I go to a different city every single year. I'm fluent in Spanish. Now, people ask me, why did you learn Spanish? I'm like, I don't know. I just had an irrational attraction to Spanish and the Spanish culture and Spain as a country. So whenever I go there, I feel like home. And I speak the language just because it's fun. And my soul feels good while speaking the language. So same kind of thing.
It's powerful.
And now I know, because I've done the past life regressions. I know my connection to Spain is not ancestral, it's past life connected.
Yeah, like my past life connection with India, another one.
There you go. Yes,
I've never been to India though. It's my bucket list. I want to go. But for whatever reason, I'm so connected to the culture and the people, and I think I was born in Mauritius for that reason, because Mauritius, actually the majority are Indians. They're Indian Mauritians, so you have that culture around you anyways. So it's incredible. And I know from a past life why, and I know why India, because I was an Indian soldier back 200 years ago, and there was like a civil unrest between towns or between two different parts of India. My best friend, who lives in London, I saw him there. Okay. I could recognize him from his eyes when I was having the past life
Wow.
regression. He killed me. He had to kill me because he was the opposition.
Oh,
And
wow.
we were a gay couple. It's a soap opera. Like that regression was a soap opera. We were a gay couple from opposing teams or sides having to fight against each other, and he had to kill me.
So much
And
karma there.
so much. And you know what? He became my best friend because he found me. He found me. He saw a post I did on a friend of mine on Facebook on a friend's wall, and he saw my profile picture or whatever, and he felt drawn to me. And
So
he
there
just
you had, Natalie, a past life friend chord of attachment there. So these are chords of attachment
good example.
that
Yeah.
span lifetimes, and they're soul chords that can't necessarily be cut so easily. They can be made dormant in this lifetime if the relationship is too toxic, but sometimes they can't be cut because you have made a decision to keep this relationship before you were born. So from your human perspective, this incarnation, you may not be able to cut that cord because there is your wider soul perspective making different directions and connections.
It's fascinating. So I would suggest people have past life regressions or have a past life reading. You learn a lot about your current
Yes.
life and your current contract as well,
Yes.
why you chose, and it actually is very healing because it actually makes sense as to why you went through certain things in your life that might have been very, very painful and traumatic. Once you have that regression, past life regression, it all makes sense. So it's easier for you to deal with it, to heal, to move on from it, and to understand why certain people around you, whether they're good or bad, whether they're positive or negative. We need both. We need that balance. We need the good and the bad,
Yes.
because that's how we
Absolutely.
learn. If it was all hunky dory here, we wouldn't reincarnate. If everything was great, then why come back to Earth and reincarnate? And B, you wouldn't learn. We wouldn't learn anything about ourselves, about our lives. So this is a fascinating topic. I could talk to you forever, George, and we will do this
I feel that
again.
too.
We can do. You're a Leo, right?
I am a Leo. What is your star sign?
I'm an Aquarius. That's
Oh,
why.
that's a really good connection. All
That's
my best
why.
friends are Aquariuses. That's
And
why.
I'm Leos and Aquariuses too. Like I have an amazing connection, especially with Leo men.
Yes.
Extreme connection. So that's why. No
That's why.
coincidences, people. That's what we're saying. Well, we will definitely do this again. We will have, I think, around the time when your book is out as well. So we can just focus on that.
I would love that.
That would be
Thank you
great.
so much for having me back. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, George. This was a pleasure. We will, as I said, we will do this again. Everything is linked down below, so you can find George, follow him on social media, reach out to him if you have questions, buy his books, definitely.
And on the book, if you go to protectyourlightbook.com, I have a special offer where if you order the book and you enter your order number, you also get a free 2-hour masterclass with me, which is all about psychic scanning your energy and identifying all the energetic attachments and releasing them. So be sure to grab that as well.
What a great idea. That's a great giveaway. Nice
Yeah.
one. Oh, perfect. So there you go, everyone. Go ahead, go buy his books and go follow him. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Till next time. Bye.
Bye, Natalie.